Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 30. What do you got for 30?
Steph Curry? I mean, is that like the obvious choice here?
Seth Curry.
You could go his brother. You probably could go his dad. Didn't Adele wear 30? I mean, is this a family tradition that they got going on?
It might be. It might be. I don't know. I'm trying to think of another 30 off the top of my head.
There's got to be a running back somewhere. For some reason, that's an NBA number to me. I don't know.
That's a Seth Curry number. I don't know anybody else. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Deep Shot. Jake's not here tonight. He's got some things he's attending to. This is about his, 6th or 7th missed podcast of the season, but who's counting? Some would call him a little bit of a diva, not me, but some would call him that. But I do know somewhere Jake will be, and that is the Deep Shot Sports Helping Paws event at Mutation Brewing Company in Sandy Springs, Georgia on Saturday, all-day event. That's right. We are just a couple days away. We have got beer, football, dogs, koozies for Deep Shot Sports, shirts for Deep Shot Sports. Look at this. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got stuff for you if you donate enough. Make sure you check the Instagram and TikTok for the tier list. Deep Shot Club, Touchdown Club. Check out the clubs to find out how you can get some free Deep Shot stuff. But anyway, the event is this Saturday. We're really excited. There's going to be a Scoville hot chicken there. There's going to be plenty of beer. There's going to be great vibes, all of us. So make sure you're there on Saturday. Really, really excited for this. Been counting this down for months. So biggest event of the year. Caleb, how excited are you?
I'm stoked. Honestly, now it's a week of that. It really here is finally going to be a thing that we're going to be able to watch the games and enjoy, the good old fashioned joys of life here, friends, families, times, spouses, football, Scoville hot chicken. It's going to be a time. I'm still looking forward to that chicken sandwich. I just had a Chick-fil-A sandwich earlier. I'm kind of trying to get my bearings. Popeyes opened in town again, so I'm going to go get one of those later this week just to really give the audience a full reveal and review of what I think is going to be brought from Scoville hot chicken on Saturday.
There you go. That's a good idea. Get the palate ready. All right. Well, remember, on Saturday, November 22nd, we'll see you guys there at Mutation Brewery. Also, just a little disclaimer, while supplies last on the shirts, we don't have unlimited, but, if we run out, we'll try to get you guys more. Same thing for the koozies and stickers. Should have enough, but while supplies last, make sure you get there early so you can get the stuff. All right. Let's get into it. We've got the picks and previews for week 13 of college football and week 12 of the NFL. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about the playoff rankings that just came out last night as we're recording on Wednesday. Top 3 stays the same. Once again, Georgia moves into the top 4. As it stands, they have a bye week without maybe even having to play in the SEC championship game. Talked about how they probably won't get that if Texas Tech wins the Big 12 next week or in a couple weeks. But if Texas Tech loses the Big 12 and BYU wins it, that's a whole different discussion. So we just have to, and that, obviously it's going to depend on if A&M beats Alabama in the SEC championship or how that works out. But if Georgia doesn't make the SEC championship and Texas Tech doesn't win the Big 12, Texas A&M beats Bama, Georgia could theoretically get a double bye, which would just be insane. But we'll talk about that if we get there. The big talking point is Notre Dame, at least for me, is Notre Dame is now at number 9. Bama's at number 10. I know actually probably for Caleb too. We talked about it just before we got started recording. And I told you I was okay with the Notre Dame-Miami argument. I saw where people were talking about it, but I kind of just thought Notre Dame was better than Miami. I don't think Notre Dame is better than Alabama. And I'm starting to get a little upset about the Notre Dame bias, but I guess I should have seen it coming. Last thing I want to say about the rankings is the Texas is down at 17, so it seems like a 3-loss Texas really does not stand a chance at all. Tulane ranked 24th right now, so they're the group of 5 team this week. Summerall even said in his press conference, I think today, that his team was just average, and he doesn't understand how he's even a top 25 teams. The group of 5 just obviously taking a spot, but what did you think about the rankings?
First of all, Summerall's comment, that was a classic. He said this team's average. There must be a lot of average football going on in America. And he might not be wrong. But going for the playoff, I have the same question as everybody else does. How in the hell can you look at football and say that Bama is not better than Notre Dame when Notre Dame's 2 losses don't compare to what Bama's 2 losses were? And I think what the committee's losing in this is that, okay, Bama lost to Florida State week 1. Well, we've since found out that Florida State's not that great, all right? But Florida State at the beginning of the year, like fresh out, I mean, I think there's a lot of teams in this country that would have lost to them in week 1. If they could have beat Alabama in the way that they did. And look, Kalen DeBoer said all summer, one of the best practices we had. It was a good group. He thought they were going to have a good team. And this is a guy that went to the Natty, so he knows what he's looking at. if Florida State was that good, then they could have beat anybody at any point, I think. Just for one game. Like, Florida State's good enough for one game against whoever. Name your team. Other than maybe Ohio State. I think they're losing sight of that. And also, what this really does, if I'm Oregon, I'm terrified. Because if I lose this week, what they just did to Alabama, Oregon's going to be out of the playoff. I think that's what the result's going to be. And I'm also dumbfounded by how they just think BYU is miles ahead of Georgia Tech in terms of where they are in their conference. Like, I understand the Big 12 clearly better as a conference than they are, but Georgia Tech's still 9-1, and they didn't get blown out on TV in front of everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and the fact that Miami's the highest ranked ACC team and they've lost twice.
And they're getting rewarded because what do they do? They cover against the bad teams and they lose the ones that they shouldn't have. I mean, I really just don't understand why. Is this the new metric? We're giving all the 8-2 teams over the 9-1 teams. And I know that record doesn't say everything, but it's not easy to go 9-1, people. Like, you can play whoever you want to for 10 games in a row that are at the Power 4 level. You're not going to just waltz into 9-1. That's difficult. And I know I'm saying the same thing about BYU. Lest we forget, BYU, like, there's an eye test. We've all seen them, okay? Bear Bachmeyer played his ass off this last week after I talked shit. But prior to that, like, not very impressive. Haynes King's one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, it's the fine line, it seems like, between, record watching and the eyeball test. Like you said, like, I think that's where it seems, okay, the committee this year seems like they're really just going straight eyeball tests. Like, doesn't matter what your record is. What do we think? When in the past, maybe they've been going by more of what the record says in some circumstances. So what is the new one they have this year? Strength of record?
The record, yeah, that's a really weird metric, and I've been trying to look at that one a lot, but even then it gets a little misleading because I think up until, for the longest time this year, BYU is the number 1 or number 2 strength of record team in the country outside of Indiana. I mean, I think Ohio State was behind BYU for a week at some point. So, yeah, you've got to really kind of meld all that stuff together and really figure out what you think. Honestly and truly, like, if you look Miami, eye test, they're probably a top 10 team. But you can't, how are you going to eye test them? You can't eye test a team for a full game. You eye test them based on, like, okay, well, just like put them on paper against the next team. Well, they should win. Yeah, Miami should. They've already lost 2 of them, though. Mm-hmm. And again, Notre Dame rewarding a team that doesn't play in a conference, I have an issue with. Notre Dame should not be able to get higher than number 11 in the country or number 10 in the country if they don't play in a conference. That's bullcrap. Unless they're like, 10-0, 11-0, 12-0, they would win out and beat both Texas A&M and Miami. That'd be a different story to me.
Yeah, no, it's I go back to the eye test. Do I think Notre Dame is a top 10 team? Yes, I do. And that's why I wasn't making such a hoopla about the Miami thing. I was asking the question. I could see the argument. I think it didn't really get under my skin as much as it got under my skin last night seeing them above Bama, because you go eye test, you can't tell me, like, right now, like, when it was week 9 and Miami had lost 2 of the last 3 and Notre Dame's been rolling, you can tell me, but because what? Alabama lost to another top 10 team, you think now that, like, I don't understand it. You think now all of a sudden Notre Dame's that much better than or Alabama? And when you're comparing them, like, why stop at Alabama? Why does Oklahoma get to be ranked above Notre Dame at this point? Like, what is why now Notre Dame get over them? Like, I don't know. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I think Alabama going back from 4 to 10 was just kind of a big slap. Like, that was a little much to me, I thought. And to lose to a top 10 team. And like you said, if Oregon loses to USC this week, I mean, that's a huge, huge thing. So,
and America needs to view this thing differently too. When they look at this ranking, it's not 12 teams that you're not just going to get the first 12 that are on this board. You're not even going to get the first 11. You're getting 10 teams. So Bama will be the last team in the playoff right now that's an at-large, because the way it shakes out, Miami, if this was to go to playoff 2 day, Miami could not get in because Georgia Tech is leading their conference. They would be in. And then you still got the group of 5 team. Basically, the committee's told them you lose Auburn, you're Alabama.
Okay, which they should be if they do. But at this point, I thought they would still be a little bit higher. I mean, it's really like, I know where I was going with that. Let's talk about something else. So let's talk about Lane Kiffin. The drama continues this week. Family was spotted in Gainesville on Sunday, right, Caleb?
Yep.
And then Baton Rouge on Monday. There was a report about the ultimatum that came out that Ole Miss basically told them, hey, by the Egg Bowl, you got to tell us what you're doing. And I heard Josh Pate say that on Sunday night that they needed to do that. And then the report came out the next day that they did that, which, whatever. But then he went on Pat McAfee's show, said it was false. I mean, what do you think, Caleb? Do you think there's an ultimatum going on right now?
I think Lane knows that there's an ultimatum, but probably nobody's giving it to him because he's such a wild card. Like if Keith Carter at Ole Miss, who's the AD, by the way, if he was to give Lane Kiffin an ultimatum and say, "Hey, buddy, you need to let me know by Friday," he'll probably tell you on Thursday, "You and I'm out of here." Just that's the kind of guy that he is. Like, lest we forget, Lane Kiffin's the same dude that was hot from USC to the Raiders to Tennessee and all that stuff in a 3-year span. I wouldn't necessarily poke the bear too much with that. And honestly, this is not really the week, in my opinion, to tell somebody, "Hey, listen, you've got an ultimatum, Mike. We need to get this thing sorted out." Now, Lane does need to tell them something before the Egg Bowl is done, in my book, because if they play the game Friday afternoon, I can't remember, I think it's Friday. If they play it Friday afternoon and nobody knows what the hell's going on, I mean, you have no clue what's going to happen. There could be people throwing eggs at him in the stadium. He could up and leave. He could resign the next day because of it. There could be a lack of celebration. Maybe the fans don't show up. I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I will say that he has not signed an extension for a reason, people. There's a reason why he has not inked a deal. You've seen Mike Elko do it. You've seen Signetti do it. Signetti was mentioned in the Penn State conversation for 3 days. He signed one of the biggest extensions in college football history. So fun times. It's been a while since college football fans have been like crazy about a coach to the point they're wearing ghillie suits in the bushes of airports and trying to photograph and video somebody's ex-wife and their son getting off a plane in a city just to confirm that they were there.
That's what college football's about. And the message boards that I've been seeing. I saw one, I meant to send it. It was Ole Miss. It was Ole Miss message board. And it was like, here's our top 5 candidates. And it was like Kirby Smart, Dan Lanning, like Nick Saban, it was all like Marcus Freeman, all of them. And so the guy was like, I don't see why everybody's just jumping to G5 all of a sudden.
Look, Ole Miss is a better job. They're not getting Dan Lanning, though, okay? Like, Lanning's in play for the LSU job, I think, more than anybody else. And that's just my opinion. There's no sources there. But another thing people got to consider with Ole Miss and with Lane Kiffin, like, there needs to be some urgency, not only because, like, we don't want him getting thrown eggs at him during the game. What if he coaches a playoff and then they get beat in the quarterfinals and then he takes the job? Guess what opens? Transfer window. Ole Miss could get gutted after early signing day, and he could just pretty much just say, "Hey, Keywan Lacey, Austin Simmons, y'all come with me. Let's go." And then Ole Miss is left with nothing. So they've kind of got to protect themselves here too in that department. So it's dicey. It is really dicey. And it really hasn't been, I don't know if I've ever felt like this in college football where something is in such peril almost, because honestly the calendar sucks. Like, we shouldn't be forcing coaches to get hired before early signing day so we can get better recruiting, but at the same time the playoffs are going on. It's the same reason why Bo Prabula had to leave Penn State, except now it's happening to the adults. They need to fix it.
They need to fix it bad. That's a whole issue within itself, but that'll probably never change. It's just, do you think like every year going forward, and also before I ask you this question, James Franklin was hired at Virginia Tech, so he's a new head coach. So got that report wrong, but it's okay. Well, hey, there's always the next one. But I wanted to see, like, do you think like this will be a yearly thing with the coaches being fired? Like, do you think we'll have 10 a year? Like we had this year, like this early?
I think you're going to have that for a couple years, maybe 2 more years with it being a 12 team, because everybody all of a sudden now feels like they have a chance at the playoff. But I have a sneaky suspicion that Penn State's going to seriously regret firing James Franklin in about 3 years. I have a serious suspicion that whoever, like all these coaches leaving, like, let's not forget that Lane Kiffin is probably one of the 5 best coaches in college football. So this ain't just some average Joe that we're talking about that's leaving. This is a big-time dude. And you had a bunch of big-time jobs come open because Brian Kelly don't know how to work, and Billy Napier sucks. You're going to get still coaches getting fired in year 4, but I don't know if you are going to be able to continue to stomach firing. Like, James Franklin was in the playoff and 7 months later he's fired. Like, to me, that's crazy. That's a little absurd, especially when you start forking out buyout money and then they're going to have to start strumming up all this money for the players. I think they need to kind of hire guys and simmer with them a little bit and give them longer plans. But the fans are too impatient.
Yeah, it is a huge fan and media problem, it seems like, more than anything. Okay, let's talk about some games this weekend. USC at Oregon. Oregon is -9.5, over under at 59.5. Pac-12 throwback matchup here. Top 10 offense in USC going against top 10 defense in Oregon. I think in terms of the styles that these two teams play. Like neither of these teams have played someone, like no one on their schedule who's even close schematically or like scheme wise to what they're going to see on Saturday, like each of them, because they play that Big Ten schedule. And like I said, this is a Pac-12 matchup. And USC's been dealing with some running back issues this year. Oregon has the second best passing defense in the country. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because obviously it's going to be hard for USC to run the ball without their running backs. And if they have to throw it, well, Oregon's, been pretty good against the pass this year now. Makai Lemon, and what's the quarterback's name?
Jaden
Mayava and Makai Lemon. We'll see how they are compared to, the teams like Iowa and Penn State that, Oregon has played. But I've been an Oregon believer all year. I think this is a big game where they can, kind of lay their nuts on the table and, almost lock themselves into a playoff spot. They got Washington the last week, but this would really help their case out. And USC, it's hard to know. They're 8-2. They lost to Illinois, and they had a really good comeback in that game, and they lost to Notre Dame. So they had a big comeback against Iowa last week, but they're, at least in terms of talent, probably even better than Iowa, at least on par. On Oregon, I'm just not sure the talent is there to kind of keep up. I think -9.5 kind of tells you what you need to hear. I'm going to put my faith in Oregon in this game. And I will say if USC wins this game, playoff talk is going to get hot in Southern California.
And they've been waiting on that for a long time. I got a couple questions about Oregon, honestly. And to be honest with the crowd at large, if you've been listening all year, I've questioned Oregon probably more than just about anybody in America. And I'm going to continue to do so this week. I'm not sitting here saying that USC is going to win either, by the way. I just want to know a few things. I want to know if Oregon's healthy. Because last time I saw them play against Iowa, everybody and their mother got hurt. I mean, both tackles, I think they were down 3 offensive linemen, a running back, and 2 starting receivers. And I don't know if any of those guys are, I don't keep up with I've stopped reading injury reports because all that reading that Florida was making me do earlier in the year, I've just had enough. So I don't really go and search for those anymore because Florida's are like, a senior thesis. They're that long. I really want to know if their receivers are going to be healthy because I think they're going to need the full complement of their team in order to beat USC at this moment because that's a very emotionally charged team. I also want to know, is Oregon's passing game defense as good as we think? Because I'm just going to do a list of some of the teams that have been trying to throw the ball in them this year, okay? They've got Oklahoma State. They've got Northwestern. They've got Oregon State. Drew Aller, Penn State, that's one. Probably the best passing offense they faced. And I'm not joking when I say that, by the way. Other than Indiana, who beat them, okay? And then they went to Rutgers. They beat Wisconsin, and that game was close, by the way. And then they went at Iowa, and we saw how that one played out. They didn't really throw it very well, and neither did Iowa. Iowa hasn't thrown it well since Tim Banks was there. And then Minnesota. Minnesota has not – they're a run-the-football team. They're in a run-the-football conference. I don't think – these next two, Oregon has not seen offenses like the next two that they're about to see because they're hosting USC and they're going to Washington. Damon Williams Jr., we talked about him just a hair on the live stream. If you peeked into that one earlier this year, guy's a baller. He's gotten better as years went on too. So I don't know. I'm really intrigued by this game. This will be something that I will be glued on at the Deep Shot party this week. I also want to know how much of a psychopath is Dan Lanning going to be for this game? Really want to know.
Yeah, and that's coming out. Something in there. Let's talk about a matchup in the SEC. Missouri versus Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is -7.5. Over-under is at 41.5. Big 12 throwback matchup here. We just had a Pac-12 throwback. Now we're going to the Big 12 back in the day. Oklahoma coming off the big win against Alabama. They've got a home game. You win the next 2 games, and you're in the playoff, Oklahoma. It's that simple. You got Missouri and LSU, and I believe the game against LSU is at home as well. It's the 4th best run defense in the country. They're going against Ahmad Hardy coming off the 300-yard game. We'll see how that matchup plays out. Now, Missouri's defense, not a bunch of slouches. Zion Young, Damon Wilson, we know who they are. They'll be able to create pressure, and when Mizzou and keep Mizzou in the game. Bo Prabula apparently rumored to be able to return this week, potentially. So
is that like how?
That's just what they're saying.
Guess the guy off one leg.
I mean, tough son of a bitch. That's all I can say. I don't know. But
I honestly thought Zollers hasn't been terrible, but anyhow, that's just my opinion.
Well, Missouri has been terrible at beating ranked SEC teams. I know that. Haven't done that in a couple years. At least the last 2. I tried to go on this spree to find the last time they beat a ranked team or a ranked SEC team in general or a top 10 team in general. and I just couldn't find it. But I found out they haven't beat a ranked SEC team in the last 2 seasons. Okay, and I didn't go that more into depth after that. But they have to go on the road. I have a hard time believing they're going to find that first one. I don't really believe in Oklahoma that much. I will say, like I know they beat Alabama and they own them, and that's just something we have to get used to. Oklahoma does own Alabama, so that's just something. No matter what the records are, the Oklahoma owns Alabama, but I'm not sure how good of a team they are. I know Missouri's going to be hungry, but I think Oklahoma wins the game by the 7.5. I don't know. I could see it being close, but I could also see Missouri just doing what they do against every SEC team and being trash. So I don't know. Oklahoma's defense just is going to have to control the game, and if John Mateer can just maybe throw for over 200 yards, they should be able to cruise to a win. I don't know though. These teams are hard to read, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm trying to basically read this game off of vibes. I think Oklahoma knows what's at stake for them if they lose a game like this. Like this is that they're playing 1-game playoffs these next 2 weeks. And honestly, talent-wise, I don't know which of these next 2 teams they're going to play is actually like better. That's a crazy take, but if you think about it honestly, like they're about to play 2 of the best rosters in the SEC from top to bottom. I fully think that Oklahoma has got one thing in mind is that shut Ahmad Hardy down. Ahmad Hardy, I don't even know. Did he win Player of the Week, by the way? I mean, we never got any
No,
results
he's
on
not.
that.
No, it's a Josh Allen award.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. we got to ban voting for that guy. But anywho, we run for 300 yards. We'll get Player of the Week, whatever. It's all right. It's average. Run for 300 yards. But he did it last week against Mississippi State. I can guarantee you he's not going to run for that many against Oklahoma. And if he does, I can bet you I can predict who's going to win this game. So I don't expect that to happen. Look, Missouri's not going to beat you throwing the ball. It don't matter if Perbuela's out there. It don't matter if Zollers is out there. That's just not what they're going to do. I would like to see Oklahoma kind of step on it a little bit. If they're going to be a playoff team, they're going to be serious like what everybody's talking about, and they're kind of in that honey zone where you don't have to play for an SEC championship game, but you'll get in the playoff, which is the absolute best place you could be. You kind of want to go into the playoff with a little mo because you're going to be off for a while. So it's time for them to step on the gas. They need to smoke these guys. I personally, like you said, Damon Wilson and the guys on defense from Missouri, they ain't done playing. And it's about time that they beat somebody that's pretty decent. Because, I mean, they lost by 3 to Bama. They lost by a touchdown to Vandy. And they lost a little bit more than what they should have to Texas A&M. So they've had decent showings against good teams this year. They just need to put it all together for 4 quarters.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do. I'm telling you, Oklahoma, I thought back, week 6, Oklahoma bet, like I was really feeling good about Oklahoma. It's just been weird. It's been weird since the Mateer thing, and he just hasn't looked the same. Defense has been carrying, but we'll see. We'll see. Like the 2 wins they had against Tennessee and Alabama, it felt like the other team just lost it more than they won it, and at least in my opinion. So it's hard to read them, but I'd be cool with them going to the playoffs. I'm not saying they want.
I'd rather see them than BYU. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, agreed. Okay, just some other games. So let me just go through this. Right, Rutgers plays Ohio State this weekend. Another game in the Big Ten. That means nothing. All right, now this is that week in the year where SEC does play the nobodies. We got A&M Sanford, Georgia plays Charlotte, Alabama plays Eastern Illinois, Vandy plays Kentucky, Texas plays Arkansas, Tennessee plays Florida. So all these teams are playing nobodies.
Wait a damn second. What?
But anyway, like South Carolina's playing Coastal, those things. What do you think about that? The argument there, Caleb, that the SEC teams play these cupcake week in November. Do you think it's as ridiculous as some people make it out to be? Like, but what's your thought on it?
I think Oregon played a cupcake game like 2 weeks ago. It was against Rutgers, who's in their playoff in their conference, dude. Like, no, the cupcake games. Are you kidding me? Like, if you played this schedule, okay, so the Big Ten just gets away when lest we forget. Did we not remember like 2 seasons ago, Oregon almost lost to Montana State like week 1, and that was their garbage game. Okay, they don't get in trouble about it because it was close one year, and then this year they smoke them. So they're wrong, but we're right. I mean, I don't know about all that. I think you need these 1-week buys at the end of the year, personally, for the SEC because hell, they've been. Go look at Oklahoma's schedule and see what they've played the last month and a half. I think you'd want just a little bit less than what you've been dealing with on your plate. Because Oklahoma, like I said, I mean, I read it all. They played Bama. It's a murderer's row. It is a murderer's row of teams. Tennessee, you had to go to Tennessee. Nobody wants to deal with all that. And then you're expecting them to play another tough game. Nobody in America, by the way, no athletic director is going to sign their team up to play a tough game in the midst of their conference schedule 1 week before the rival.
Yeah. And I also just think it's like, what does it matter? Like when they play it, like everyone gets mad that they play it, this late in the season. It's like, bud, sorry that, LSU decided to play Clemson and Texas decided to play Ohio State. And, we play our games early in the year. I know you people love to act like, September football isn't important, but it is, and people want to see good games all the time. Oklahoma played Michigan. Like, these things happen. So sorry they didn't play Villanova and, Indiana State the first 3 weeks of the season. Like some people did.
It's just people trying to put the SEC down to catch their conference up, and everybody that's watching knows what the deal is. There's a reason why the Big Ten commissioners tried to get 24 teams in the playoff at a presentation the other day.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, they're a little softer than the other folks.
Yeah. No, agreed. Okay, let's talk about the NFL before we get into our picks. Jake's not here. I asked him if he had any thoughts, didn't get a reply, but Mike Penix out for the year with a torn ACL, Caleb. So Jake's comments the other night, they all meant nothing. Michael Penix is not a baby. He's not soft for sitting on the bench with a torn ACL. Jake didn't say that, but I'm going to assume he said that. So Kirk Cousins, now the starter for the Falcons going forward. The Falcons, if you were still watching, just stop watching. Drake London's out, at least for this week. I would assume he'll probably stop playing the rest of the year. This team has definitely quit. Raheem Morris, though, still has a job, but tough blow for the Falcons, huh, Caleb?
It's brutal. I mean, to even go from like having some hope once you bench Cousins last year and get Penix come in to play well, and now he's hurt and he's out for the year, and you're going back to Cousins. Brutal.
Cousins, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's earning his pay. I mean, guy sat on the bench, took the other guy in front of him, took a beating all year. Now, all he can do is it can't get worse for Atlanta. I mean, I haven't heard discourse about the Falcons this bad since Arthur Smith days, and it sounds like it's worse than it was when Arthur Smith was here. Currently, look, I'm gonna say this because Jake would probably cry out loud if I was to say this with him on this podcast, but you don't have your quarterback for this year. There's no guarantee that the guy comes back fully healthy next year either, because he's already had ACL surgeries on both legs. Okay. You also don't have a first round pick, and your first round pick would have been top 5 probably before this thing's all said and done. That's gone too. It's about as bad as it's been in Atlanta in a while. And I still can't believe Raheem Morris has a job.
When you put it that way, Caleb, it's sad. It's sad, but yeah, we did fix the pass rush. They can sack the quarterback now. Let me tell you, they still just don't have a quarterback. And when they drafted one and signed one for $180 million.
Yeah. Look, go look at the trade job that Terry Fontenot did on this James Pierce deal. Because, yeah, they fixed the pass rush. They also fixed quarterback a little bit. They dumped a first-round pick and $180 million in a quarterback. It's still not fixed. But then on the pass rush front, they traded a future first for James Pierce, and somebody with a pick one behind them traded like a 4th and a 6th in a first-round swap for the next year for the same thing. Fleeced. Y'all got fleeced. This thing is like buying a Apple Watch at the flea market. What he just got that first round, that top 5 pick off y'all for.
Yeah. I mean, it is because I know Jake says like, he's not that mad about it because James Pierce is good, but like, it's kind of like what you just said. And maybe it's not the point that James Pierce is good. It's maybe this point that we didn't have to give up a first round pick to get through that,
I just wonder who's going to get picked in the Rams slot next year. And how many Falcons fans are going to be pissed off that they were not up there?
We shall see. All right, let's talk about some NFL games this weekend, though. We've got the Colts going to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. Chiefs are -3.5, over/under at 49.5. Colts offense, number 1 in the league in total yards and points scored. Chiefs not far behind, as they are top 10 in both of those categories as well. The only teams the Colts have beat with a winning record this season are the Chargers, and then they beat the Broncos back in week 2. So haven't played the fiercest of competition. Chiefs are backs against the wall. If you want to know their stat for that, the only team they beat with a winning record is the Lions, but they're 5-5. Colts are 8-2. Chiefs are like 2 games out of the 7th seed right now. What do we think? Do we think they get the big win here? They're favored by 3.5.
I'm going to go ahead and dub this one as a must-win for the Chiefs. Yes, they're favored. This is the home swing. This is basically Vegas telling you this is a pick 'em. They're giving the half point to Taylor Swift. So that's the pick breakdown. I'm going to tell you what they're thinking at the Bellagio. Okay. Now, for everybody else, they're pulling for the Colts. I'm telling you, everybody in the league is going to pull for the Colts in this game just because just because nobody wants to see Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I mean, you guys could tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he's been playing really good at quarterback this year. And if he was to get in the postseason, he could make that thing happen. And nobody knows how to coach the postseason better than Andy Reid in the NFL right now. So yeah, it's must win. I think if there's an opportunity for the Chiefs, if they can get their swagger back this week and win this game, I mean, they could tear it up for the rest of the year. For my own sake and my own fandom, I do not want to have New England have to go to Arrowhead again. So, and I think that's kind of out of the picture with them at 5 losses already compared to what we're at with our record. This is also the Colts kind of got punched in the mouth last time we saw them, did they not? With the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, last
Was
time
that
we
the
saw
last
them was
game?
the Colts, or was the Falcons?
Okay,
Before that.
well, when they play decent competition, they've got to play better. No offense, Falcons fans.
No, you're not wrong. I no offense taken on my end here. I think we're all rooting for the Colts though. The Colts may be America's team this week, but maybe America's team is just whoever plays the Chiefs every week. But 5-6 Kansas City. I mean, at that point they would be in must win in every single game. They definitely got to get this one. Okay, Steelers are playing the Bears. Bears are -2.5, over under at 45.5. Aaron Rodgers is questionable right now with that injury on his non-throwing hand, right? You said it was his non-throwing hand?
Yeah, it's his left hand.
Bears, after an 0-2 start, have won 7 of their last 8, are undefeated in the month of November. Top 10 offense, second in the league in rushing yards per game. I thought this was interesting when looking at the stats. Steelers don't rank in the top 10 in any big stat category as a team. So, like, total yards, passing yards, rushing yard, third downs, points, and then same thing for all those stats on the defense. There's not a top 10 in sight. Yet they're 6-4. How does that happen?
Luck. That's the NFL for you. I mean, when you're mid, you can win about half your games. Is what I'm hearing. But if I'm not mistaken, they had that thing grooving at the beginning of the year, but they've kind of softened up as the seasons went on. Maybe because they're probably the oldest team in football. That's probably hurting them a little bit. I just was thinking. This is just me. Shows you where the Bears franchise has been all my life. Are they winning their division? Are they first in the NFC North? I think they are, because I think Green Bay's 6-3-1. And if that's the case, then the Bears have a better record than them right now, and they are first in their division.
I think you're right. Hold on. Wi-Fi's being slow. You are correct. 7-3. I mean, third best team in the NFC right now, behind the Eagles.
Crazy.
Rams.
Somebody without researching could tell me when the last time the Bears were winning the NFC North. Please let me know. It's got to be Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall days. And even then, I don't think they were that good record-wise. Maybe one of those, oh my gosh, what was it? He was the coach that was there when they had the doink field goal, the double doink or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That year, maybe they were that good. But this is a pretty big game for the Chicago Bears to be able to pull off. And you're talking about kind of nailing away Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some bad blood with former coaches in that division from where he's from. I mean, I don't know if Ben Johnson ever coached against him, but I know one thing's for sure. Aaron Rodgers don't like the Cincinnati or the Chicago Bears. So I look for the Bears to continue to get this thing rolling. They're a fun team to watch, believe it or not. Just Ben Johnson's just offense and how he coaches teams and how they play. Like, Caleb Williams ain't playing bad, by the way. Just if you want to check in on the guy, he's kind of righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then be 2.5-point favorites against a team with a winning record this late in the season. I haven't seen that in a while. Bucs going to the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Rams are -7, over under at 49.5. This is the early season MVP in Baker Mayfield versus the last month of the season MVP in Matt Stafford. 27 passing touchdowns, Caleb. It's week 11 or what? Week 12. He has 27 passing touchdowns. That's almost 3 a game. That's like 2.5 a game. Insane. Only has 2 interceptions, by the way. Couple that up with a Rams defense that gives up the second fewest points per game in the league. Tough team to beat. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I mean, they're just insane. Not to mention having one of the best coaches in the NFL. And then the Bucs, they're pretty banged up. I mean, they don't have anybody, it seems like. Can they even hang in this game?
When you put it all together like that, it's hard to imagine. But the Bucs better start winning at some point. If not, they're going to get the division stolen from them from the Carolina Panthers. Okay? And look, I don't know what to happen with the Bucs schedule, but it seems like they played a brutal one. I mean, they just went to Buffalo, right? They played New England. Now they got the Rams. Sounds like the easiest scheduling they got is in their own division, which is tough. But I'm glad you noted that about the early season and the new season MVP. Drake May, this guy over my shoulder, just gets left out of that conversation. Saw a stat breakdown. You should go check it out sometime. You'd be shocked to know who's got arguably the better year. But anywho, Matt Stafford with 2 picks is a really impressive stat line. That is probably just as impressive as a guy throwing, like you said, the 27 touchdowns. The 2 picks stands out to me more, especially when you know how much they throw the ball. It'd be a shame if somebody on this podcast said the Rams are going to be really damn good, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I think they roll. And the Bucs, like you said, like Baker Mayfield, yeah, he's an MVP candidate, but they're 6-4. You can't win an MVP going 10-7.
Good point. It's a really good point. Okay, well, before we get into the picks, let's just update the standings. So we don't have Jake or guest picker because our guest picker bailed at the last second. So first time this year we don't have a guest picker. Should be a quick picks here, just back and forth as me and Caleb go.
Should we shame the guy that backed out here? I mean, this is the first in our entire history, and we didn't ask for it.
Yeah, Tom DiNatale. I mean, PSP co-worker for my first ever job. And let me just say this, Tom, hopefully you're there on Saturday. Hopefully, you don't puke on Saturday and not show up. But you and Nick, two Alabama fans, met them at my first ever job. Both of them tell me they want to come on this podcast. And both of them have bailed in the last second. So let's just get our shit together, guys. All right. Everyone thinks it's easy to come on this podcast twice a week. It's not. Some people can't even do it once. So anyway, last week I did pretty good in these picks, though. I went 4-1. The only one I missed was actually my deep shot. So I am now 31-28. Locks are 7-5. Deep shots are 3-8. Jake, he's way behind. He's not here. We're not going to talk about his record. He'd probably enjoy that we're not talking about his record. Caleb, you went 2-3. 2-3.
I'm starting to get on that deep shot train that Jake's on because my record's starting to get bad. Like, if you go back and remember, like at one point this year on the picks, I was like 14-5. Like, I was tearing it up. I have lost all of my tuition money since then.
Yeah, well, you guys say that, but I'm over here 3 games above 500 with just as bad as record. Since these excuses are getting made, but
this is what you do when you lose. This is what you do. You cope.
Yeah, and just Sam, the guest picker, he went 1-4, or 2-3. Sorry, he went 2-3. He went 2-3. Gotta give him credit where credit's due. But he did not hit his deep shot for the Gators hit. Money line.
Close though. Close.
All right, let's get into the picks. For my favorite this week, I'm going to be going with Vandy -9.5 versus Kentucky. Look, Vandy has a huge game against Tennessee next week if they get past this game. It'll be basically, they win and they've got a huge argument for the playoffs. Who knows if they'll get in with how they're behind BYU and Utah and Miami right now, but they will have an argument. So I think they come out ready in this game to get there the next week. They're way better than Kentucky. Kentucky has had the big win against Florida, but that was the highlight of their season. So I think they're done trying. I don't really see them getting this win at all. So I'm going to go Vandy -9.5.
Little Pavi action there. I'm sticking with something that you're kind of talking about as well. Like, there's a big game coming up. They kind of need to step on the gas a little bit and get this thing going. I'm taking the Texas Longhorns. They're -8.5. Taking on Arkansas this week. Arkansas coachless, entity-less. I mean, when I got the job, I thought James Franklin was in Fayetteville 2 weekends ago. No, he was actually tailgating in Blacksburg, Virginia, by the way. He tailgated for the Old Dominion game, which is pretty cool. But anyway, missed on that, but we're not going to miss on this pick. Texas is my lock of the week. I think they know that they've got to punch it in on these guys a little bit just to have the mo and the energy for next week. Like, the players are already going to be amped up for Texas A&M, but they're not going to overlook this game, especially with 3 losses, because they know, and Sark knows this, if they have any crumb or semblance of getting in the playoff, it's got to come with winning both of these next games.
All right. That's your lock?
Yep, that is my lock.
My underdog this week is going to be none other than Charlotte, +43.5 against the Georgia Bulldogs. Remember the stat from week 1. Kirby, 0-13-1. That's a 38-point favorite or more. We're going to 0-14-1. All right. Just got to follow the numbers here. It's just a smart play. It's just a smart play. Georgia, it's obviously a game they're going to win no matter what. They don't care how much they win it by. And the starters should be out by halftime if everything goes well. Also, Charlotte's like 1-10, 1-9. I don't think the Georgia players will be playing that much. This is just a, get reps kind of game. And you just got to go to numbers. Charlotte +43.5.
I like that. I mean, you're picking against your team. I'm going to pick for my team right here. This is my pick this week. Was really close to doing a lock here. If you don't know, you should know that Tennessee has not beaten the Gators in the Swamp since I was able to drive. In fact, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a big trend on TikTok about this Q-Zip situation. I don't know if you've ran across that on the internet. It's a new craze. This Q-Zip's about 10 or 12 years old. And I think it's been that long since Tennessee beat the Gators in the Swamp. In fact, like we can go back to like Felipe Franks, Hail Mary. I don't know if people remember that. Like it's been a long time. Ain't changing. Last time they came down there, we almost fought the quarterback with one of our defensive linemen, squared up on him, whatever, and we still kicked ass. I think this is going to be hell for Tennessee to try and make it out of. You're talking about night game, which how the do you get a night game when you have done nothing all season long? I mean, I don't even know. Was Florida 3-7? And they get a night game 7:30 a kick against Tennessee. The ACC clearly hates Tennessee, clearly does. So I think we're going to run with this. And by the way, Lane Kiffin has talked about how his fans don't show up for their games. Florida sold out again for the Tennessee game this week. Again, have had I think it's like 6 straight years with sellout. Since COVID, they've sold out every game.
Those fans care down there in Gainesville. All right, 4.5. That was the number.
Yep.
Okay.
Plus 4.5.
My over is going to be my lock. It's going to be Pitt at Georgia Tech this week in Atlanta. Over under 62.5. I just Georgia Tech. If you watch our game against Boston College last week, that was fireworks. That's how every game they've been in pretty much all season has been. They have a pretty bad defense and a Pitt team coming in who knows they have to win to have a chance to get to the playoff. If Georgia Tech has to win to go to the ACC championship, they win this game, they're in the ACC championship. I think both these offenses are going to be locked in. Both these quarterbacks are really good. We talked about Pitts last week. Obviously, we've talked about Haynes King all year. 62.5 seems like a breeze, to be honest. So I'm going to go lock that in. That's my over this week.
I like that. I'm going with Notre Dame and Syracuse to go over 50. I think Notre Dame has got something to prove to the world about style points. You're talking about strength of record and all that stuff. Like some of that stuff counts into how badly you beat teams. I think Notre Dame needs to score 49 by themselves. It don't matter what Syracuse does. I'm just going to bank that they take a safety at some point during the game. I think they need to win in style. Because if not, who's to say what happens if Alabama goes in? I'm talking about smokes Auburn in Jordan-Hare and then wins the SEC championship game. I think Notre Dame's out, right? If everything falls the way we are, and especially if you talked about what if Texas Tech loses? What if Texas Tech loses? I don't think they'd boot them out of the playoff. If they boot Texas Tech out of the playoff and not Notre Dame, there's not going to be any more college football playoffs. They're going to burn it down. This is a must win and a must show out for Notre Dame to show out big. I think I got them going over 50.5 by themselves.
Yeah. At this point, Notre Dame you just got to assume they're in, and it's going to piss you off at some point. Might as well just start getting pissed off about it now. All right, my under this week is Missouri, Oklahoma. We talked about it earlier, 41.5. I just don't know how good these quarterbacks and their run game. Now, Missouri's got a good run game, so we'll see if that. But even then, that's 2 o'clock. There's no way they're going to be running for 300 yards, like you said. Explosiveness, that won't be there, I don't think. So I think this is a grimy game. Big old, not like the Big 12. Defenses are the best part of these teams, especially their lines. It's going to go under. I don't see this going to be in a lot of points.
And what was the number?
41.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I think both teams are going to try and strangle each other to death to try and win that game. I don't think Oklahoma wants Mateer to try and throw it to win it. And I think in Missouri, if they're going to play their style ball in order to win the game for their game script, they've got to run the ball. So it should be one of the quickest games of the weekend. My under is a sicko pick, but it's not really. If you know ball, you know to pick Iowa unders. And it's 42.5 this week. It's a little high for an Iowa game. 42.5. I really want to take this pick. And Iowa, I love Iowa. I like Kirk Ferentz, whatever. Give them their flowers. Wish they would have beat Oregon and USC. What happened to Michigan State? What happened to Michigan State? This
So
team
bad.
was going, this is, I think I heard it yesterday. This is like the second year they've gone without going to bowl games for 2 years in a row since like the 80s. This team has been relevant in football for ages. They were in the first college football playoff, were they not?
I think it was the second one, but yeah.
They've always had some kind of juice, and they have just stunk it up when it came to NIL. Let me let you in on a little secret. The state of Michigan has no shortage of money. That alumni base has no shortage of money. And I know all the money's not going to Ann Arbor. And Tom Izzo is still making Final Fours, but I really wish football's better when Michigan State's good.
Yeah, dude, you get kind of just forgotten about. It is crazy. Even a couple years ago, when Mel Tucker first got there, and they beat Michigan, and there was buzz, and then
There's a little buzz.
whatever happened with Mel Tucker, I can't even remember at this point. What happened with him? Do you know?
I have no clue where he's at. I know he made a boatload of money on his way out of the door. They gave him a couple briefcases to leave because he got a massive deal after leaving Colorado.
And then Jonathan Smith came in there. He was the guy from Oregon State, and it was just not went well for him either. Okay, deep shot this week. I'm gonna be going Kansas State plus 550 against Utah. Now look, Kansas State. That's how you remember from early in the season. It just didn't go well. They started out 1-3. They're quietly gotten a lot better. Okay, they're 5-5 now, which means do the math. They're 4-2 in the last 6, and they got to win this game to go bowling. And Utah, their physical team. A lot of people have them as the top in the Big 12, even though, Texas Tech and BYU have beat them. They're right there. They have a chance to backdoor the way in the playoff. I think Kansas State needs a statement win this season. They need something, salvage their year. I think they have a big opportunity in front of them in Utah, and you just never know. I'm going to go plus 550 Kansas State.
I like that. That's a good pick. That's smart money. Let me tell you what's dumb money. My pick, okay? And this is just fully for the people. And before I make this pick, I got to tell my former roommate, Tony, who's an Auburn fan, I love you. Ever. Mercer is plus 2,000 to beat Auburn this week. And they're going to Auburn. Let me tell you something. The last time I saw Mercer play Auburn in Auburn a couple years ago. So this is like a buyout series that they've done. It was in the fourth quarter, and I'm pretty sure it was like a 13-10 game. So, that thing was tight. I just think if it hits, it's going to be the biggest story. It's going to make the bottom line ticker of ESPN. If I say on this podcast right now, Mercer plus 2,000, send your kids to college. Like all that money I'm talking about that I lost earlier, I'll get every dime of it back if Mercer hits this week. So I wrote down on my notes, funny enough, I just found a money line for them. I've been looking for it the whole time. Just found it. And plus 2,000 still seems a little low in my book for them, but I wrote down Mercer plus $1 million.
Dude, that would be the best call in Deep Shots podcast history.
Look, Mercer's sneaky good, 9-1 this year. Sneaky good.
We really are sneaky about it. Okay. Interesting. Good one there. All right, let's get into our NFL best bets. Before we get out of here, I'm going to go with the Lions minus 10 as my first one. Now, we all talked about the Lions last week when we were like, oh, I think they'll beat the Eagles. Didn't happen. Couldn't even do anything. But they're back at home. They're playing the Giants, who are awful. Giants haven't won a game on the road in like 2 years. Lions need a big bounce back spot. You mentioned it. The Bears are winning the division. The Lions are 6-4. They need to get things rolling. They need to at least get up to 11, 12 wins to win that division, it seems like. So I think they start hot here on Sunday against the Giants, who are just depleted as a team.
So my pick is going to fall in that same division. I think Green Bay knows that it's time to go. And also, I'm betting on them to cover a -6 line because J.J. McCarthy sucks. It is bad. It's bad. I'm usually not the guy. I don't try and have patience. I thought about that on my drive home from taking the trash off today, that, sometimes patience is the most undervalued and underused attribute that humans have nowadays, just because of cell phones and all that. And I don't want to be a boomer. But I think my patience has already ran out on J.J. McCarthy, okay? I just think he's just not going to do it. The guy had to throw 15 passes a week at Michigan and went 15-0. So, and obviously, he went to IMG. But anywho, enough of that. I want the Packers to make us some money right here. -6 this week. And they're 6-3-1. Like I said, they're technically like a half a game back from the Bears, which is weird to say. If they would have not pussyfooted around during the overtime with the Dallas Cowboys a couple weeks ago, they'd be in much better shape. But no, now they're always either a half game up or a half game back, and it's always out of their destiny. But they need to continue to row the boat this week and keep up in that race that we're talking about.
All right, I'm going to go for my second one. Seems like this game is just always fireworks when it's in Jerry's world. So Eagles at Cowboys over 47.5. Like I said, this game in week 1 was fireworks until they had that delay, and then it kind of just stopped. Everybody stopped scoring. But I feel like every year when this game gets played in Dallas, it is absolutely electric. So I'm just going to go with the vibes. And, Dak Prescott has been having a great year. The Cowboys offense has been having a great year. What did you think about them benching CD and George Pickens the first drive the other night?
Yeah, the first play of the game only, dude. Like, what did they go 3 and out? I was going to ask you the same question because I saw a hilarious tweet about this, and it was the scene, shout out my SpongeBob watchers, where they told, they arrested SpongeBob and Patrick because they said if you do the crime, you do the time. They shut him in the slammer for like 3 seconds. He looked at his clock and said, all right, time's up, and let him right back out. Let him right back out. Like, what kind of punishment was a drive? You're already paying them a bunch of money. So what? They were out late in Vegas. So what? So what? Guys can't have fun.
Vegas, dude. Who cares? Team curfew, whatever.
I mean, it's not like they were out in Indianapolis or out in Atlanta. If they were out in Atlanta, you got some issues. You got some things to really answer. Miami as well. Vegas, we know what they're doing. They're just sitting at the tables.
All right, what's yours? Second one.
My next best bet for the NFL is going to be a Mecca Ibuga anytime touchdown. It's plus 135. I really like this just because, like, we already talked about the fireworks that's going to happen this week. And Baker Mayfield is still Baker Mayfield. He's going to play football very well. I just believe that at some point, Mecca is going to get his in this game. If the Rams had a weakness over there, it is the corners. Like, their corners aren't very good, but they're so good everywhere else, so they can kind of cover all that stuff up. And I'm sure at some point or another in the red zone on one-on-one action, he's going to get a target in the red zone. And I think he's going to catch it and score.
All right. Have you looked at the Falcons Saints line this week, Caleb?
It's funny because I've been windmill dunking on the Saints all year long, and you guys are underdogs.
Underdog.
You're the worst team in the NFL. Y'all are underdogs, the worst team in the NFL. Sell the team.
425 game. This game's in the afternoon. What? Ew.
I didn't want to bring it up because obviously this podcast is going to traumatize a lot of people. Well, I'm sure the news flashing across your phone didn't help today with Michael Penix, all that stuff. But like, just to find out, hey, the Saints are the worst they've been in 20 years. And by the way, you were underdogs against them this week.
Dude, quarterback matchup, Kirk Cousins versus Tyler Shaw. No Drake London.
I will say I think you guys have the leg up on the quarterback battle.
Yeah, man. Just a tad. That's funny. With that said, give me the Falcons money line.
Falcons money line, dude. That's plus money. Smart cash.
Dude, come on, dude. Come on.
Ride the wave. If Raheem wins, does he keep his job for next year?
He's keeping his job no matter what. I keep telling people. Now, he may not be going 8-9. They 7-10. They might find something. You know, like, let's look at the Falcons schedule the rest of the year.
What if Kirk Cousins?
So we got Saints, Jets. So we've got the Saints and the Jets next 2 weeks. So they might catch some fire. It's possible, right? 5-7. Okay. Then you got Seahawks, Bucs. Probably going to lose both of those. Okay. Yeah. So now we're at 5-9. Cardinals. That's a winnable game. So let's say 6-9. And then the Rams at home, though. And Rams may have a playoff spot clinched up. You never know.
Don't play nobody.
Monday Night Football. Rams are coming into town. And then the Saints to finish the year. So that's a 7-10 team. And that's enough to keep you your job if you're Raheem Morris. And that is enough for more confidence to happen. They've lost 5 games in a row. It's quite hilarious.
Listen, if we just tallied up a bunch of wins for the Falcons, but y'all did the same thing at the beginning of the year, and y'all are winning the division. So who's to say? I bet you this. I bet you Raheem's bad enough to lose one of these next 2 games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's not even favored. I mean, could you imagine if we go to New York next week and the Jets are favored?
I'm absolutely going to screenshot the line. I have to. Anytime anybody, if you're a Falcons fan, you want to talk noise this offseason, I'm sending that straight to your inbox.
Oh, brutal. All right. Well, that will wrap up episode 30. Episode 30 this season. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the football season. I mean, I've been saying that, but now, I mean, it's like college regular season has 2 more weeks, and then it's postseason time. I mean, we're so close to seeing the 12-team playoff finish, the NFL having December games and snow games and teams eliminated and fantasy seasons on the line. That's all coming. That is all coming within the next few weeks. And what's also coming is the Deep Shot Sports Helping Paws event at Mutation Brewery on Saturday. It's here. Remember, me, Jake, and Caleb will be there. We will have stickers and koozies and shirts. There's going to be beer. There's going to be Scoville hot chicken. There's going to be football on the television. We're going to have squares. So big chances for you to win money on multiple different games. I don't know what else you could ask for. Well, it's also all going down for a good cause and for the animals at the Fulton County Animal Shelter. Remember, to get all that stuff I just mentioned, you got to bring some dog or cat food to donate. So we will see you guys in a couple days. For Caleb, for Jake, who's not here, and for anybody else who could have been the guest picker today, I'm Gary. We'll see you guys next week and on Saturday. Deep Shot out.